Welcome to Feedback Not Received. How are we feeling out there tonight? I am actually feeling pretty good today. Preemptively, the boy is here already, as you just saw. He's sitting in my lap, so we won't have to deal with at least the typical screeching and running around that happens when he realizes I'm recording, because he's already here. This is actually very funny that he just did that. It's kind of a new habit for him. He sits on my lap, like most of the time we're at home, he is sitting on my lap, which is actually also relatively new. When he retired is what I say, when we moved out of my parents' house and moved into our own place, me and the cat, by the way, is when I started, that's when I call his retirement. And he never used to be a lap sitting cat. He would sit in the room with you. He would always want to be like close by, but he never wanted to sit on your lap. And he still hates being picked up and held. But ever since his retirement, he started sitting on my lap. But this thing is kind of new, where he'll sit on my lap with like his head sort of towards my body. And then he'll sit there and look up at me and reach up and like put his paw on me because he wants me to pet him, which is very funny. Like, and to be clear, it's not like he's neglected. He gets lots and lots of pets, but it's just sometimes when he's like, "Hey, excuse me, pay more attention to me, please." That was a funny little demonstration. The cat is a paid actor. He's not paid. He's paid in wet food and cuddles and a beautiful house to live in. But yeah, I was like, oh, let me try, when I started this thing a couple months ago, I was like, oh, I should try and keep the cat from interfering too much. And no, it's better with him around because he's got so much personality, just as we just saw. So anyway, he is here. We'll see how long that lasts. So usually when I'm sitting here at my desk, he eventually gets kind of bored and he'll leave, and then he'll come back and then he'll scream and be like, why are you still sitting there? He doesn't like it very much when I sit at my desk, by the way. It's not optimal for cuddles, just the setup of the chair and everything. But anyhow, welcome back. Like I said, I'm feeling pretty good today. It's been a good week. I feel like, now that I'm looking at myself, I feel like maybe this sweater washes me out a little bit. But it's fine. We live. Hi, bud. And if you're thinking to yourself, actually you really can't tell. If you were thinking to yourself, it looks like your one eye seems really irritated. That's because I did, in fact, stab myself in the eye multiple times with my mascara wand while I was getting ready today. You can't really tell because, it's this eye. It's a little bit red. Oh my God. Anyone who wears mascara can certainly relate to that. But yeah, this one eye is kind of like, oh. And again, we live, we move on, we keep going, we survive these trials and hardships. Anyhow, I mentioned actually in last week's episode that I was really wanting to do some spring cleaning, which I did. Oh, another bonus of having a cat is that my microphone is covered in cat hair. Anyway, last week I was like, I want to do spring cleaning, and I did. I didn't finish spring cleaning because last weekend actually ended up being incredibly busy for me. But I did get some spring cleaning done. I'm going to do more this weekend because, it's very satisfying. It's nice to feel clean. It's one of those things, I've said it before. Oh, there's a bug on the ceiling. I'm going to get to, actually, that's relevant. It's okay though. It's just a little one. Put a pin in that. We're going to circle back to things being on the ceiling because I have something to tell you. Cleaning though, first things first. Being someone, sorry, I can't stop looking at the ones that's on the ceiling, but it's fine. Being someone that has ADHD, things sort of blend into the background after a little while, which is part of what makes it so difficult to remember to do certain things. Like even in the fridge, it's like, I'll just forget what's in there and like, I literally won't even see it anymore. Or like, when a room is really messy, the mess just becomes part of the background and like I don't even really consciously notice it. But then when the room becomes clean, it is very noticeable. Like this psychological difference between constantly walking past like a total mess in a room versus walking past and being like, oh, it is clean. One of the things I struggle with a lot is keeping the kitchen clean, because I don't mind doing chores in general, but one of the chores one of my least favorite chores is washing dishes, which is obviously something, unfortunately, that one has to do quite a lot. If you're, eating food, you need to wash dishes. So I struggle a lot with keeping on top of keeping the kitchen clean. But when it is clean, I'm like, oh, right, it is actually worth doing, because I feel so much better when it's not constantly like, oh, it's a mess, or like, oh, I don't have any clean dishes, or, So anyway, we are a non-judgmental space here, Cleanliness is not a measure of morality, but it's one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, when you're a kid and it's like your room's really messy and your parents are like, oh, you gotta clean your room, and you're like, why? It doesn't matter. But then when you're an adult and it's your own space and you're like, oh, it does matter. It actually does have like a positive psychological effect to have a clean and tidy living space, because also cleanliness and tidiness, two different things. I'm actually a pretty clean person. I'm just a very untidy person for the most part, except, with the major exception of not being very good at keeping on top of the dishes, which is actually like kind of gross. I'll admit that's my kind of gross girl personality trait, whatever. Maybe that's a red flag. But otherwise, I'm just generally a very untidy person. So then when I tidy, like one of the things I did last weekend was like I went into, this tends to happen no matter where I'm living, is like I'll end up with like a closet that is like my shame closet, where I just will be like, I don't know where to put this whatever thing. I'm just going to put it in this closet. And then eventually the closet is just like nightmare to open. So I went through the shame closet and actually tidied it and organized it and got rid of a bunch of stuff that I was like, why am I keeping this? I am never going to need this. Get rid of it. So A+ for me, gold star for me, pat myself on the back. I did cleaning. I'm going to do more this weekend because I'm feeling motivated, because the weather's been nicer. So it's like, yes, the mental health is happening. I am, if you know, if you get it, you get it, right? However, now we're going to circle back to the bug that's on the ceiling. One of the downsides of it becoming springtime, which it is that, of course, the bugs, they are here. And for me, I will tell you something vulnerable. I am fully arachnophobic. And that's not an exaggeration. I am terrified of spiders and have been my entire life. To the point where when I was a kid, my mom has told me this before, where she was like, before they had kids, she always thought if you saw a kid who was like, for some reason, terrified of spiders or snakes or dogs or whatever, she would always think like, oh, well, clearly the parents must have done something at home to like instill that fear in their kid, right? Like if the parent's afraid of it and every time they see something they react with fear, then the kid's going to be afraid of the same thing, right? With spiders, neither of my parents have ever been afraid of spiders. My mom in particular has always been a person who's like, oh, let me just like scoop it up with my hand and I'll put it outside, and like, bye-bye spider, it's fine. Like it's chill. But neither of my parents nor any of my siblings have ever been afraid of spiders. No one in my early formative years ever instilled a fear of spiders in me. But literally, for as long as I can remember, back to my very, very early childhood, I have been absolutely terrified of spiders. It used to be so bad that literally any close encounter with a spider of any size or variety, I would have nightmares the next day or for the next several days. Like that is like, I'm not exaggerating when I say like there's a deep-seated fear that I have, phobia really. Obviously, as an adult, you do grow out of certain things. The fear of spiders for me has persisted, although it's not nearly as bad. Like I don't get nightmares most of the time, or at least I sometimes do still dream about spiders when I have a close spider encounter, but usually it's not like a terrifying nightmare. I'll just wake up the next day and be like, oh, there we go. Psychological spiders are happening. So obviously springtime is a time when the spiders are showing up. And I realize they don't disappear in the winter, but they certainly become more noticeable when it gets, like as soon as the temperature rises, it's like, oh, everybody's here. And again, another thing I'll say is, like, I know this is an irrational fear. I know that spiders are ecologically beneficial. I know that they eat pest bugs like mosquitoes. I know that they are, they're not going to hurt me. Like, we have very few venomous spiders where I live, like, and even of those, none that are particularly like deadly. Like, it's not like a place where, I don't even have the rational explanation of like, oh yeah, there are spiders that would actually be like physically dangerous to my health. No, for the most part, no, right? I know it's an irrational fear, and I have, as an adult, as I say, like, I have gotten better about it, and I say this often. It's like, I don't think all spiders deserve death. I recognize their benefit, but they can exist literally anywhere else except where I am living, and we're chill. Like, if I see a spider outside, I'm not gonna kill it, because like, that's where they're supposed to be. They are creatures of nature. Oh, there goes the cat. Oh, goodbye. Okay. If I'm at someone else's house and there's a spider, and I'll be like, oh, there's a spider, and then it's up to them how they deal with it. Some people are like, oh yeah, that's our like bathroom spider, and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna be scared every time I use your bathroom, but that's your bathroom spider, it's your business, right? But like, I cannot have them in my living space, because like, I literally will not be able to like exist. And obviously, again, it's like, I know they're here. Like, when I don't see them, I'm aware that there are probably spiders everywhere that I don't see, but when I see them, it's like, nah, sorry, you gotta go. And if there is a spider that is in a place that I can trap it under a glass and put it outside, I will do it. I'm not needlessly cruel, although I realize also 90% of the time you put a spider outside, it's gonna die immediately anyway, but whatever. But like, if it's in a place that I can't easily reach, I'm going to whack it. Or if it's one of those ones that's really scuttly, I'm gonna whack it. I'm gonna kill the spider, because like, I have to, I'm not trying to be cruel, but like, I am so terrified. Like, I will not be able to sleep, right? And even then, like I said, as an adult, I've gotten better about it, where like, there have been a few times when has been like, I've had a bathroom spider where it's one of those super chill ones, and it's just like chilling in a corner. And if it's chilling in a corner where it's like, I don't have to walk underneath you very often, I have actually challenged myself, been like, okay, we're chill. That's my roommate. We can chill, right? Or even like little tiny ones, little jumping spiders. Like, I'm not going to go out, even if I see them inside, I'm not going to go out of my way to kill them, unless it's like, oh, maybe a jumping spider, like, invasion is happening. But particularly the bigger ones, the less chill ones, the ones that are scuttling around and getting all up in my business, the ones that, I don't know any better way to describe it, except like the ones that are really freaking like spidery, Ugh, sorry, even talking about it's just kind of making my skin crawl. So, why am I doing all this rambling? I do feel like I have to put a lot of disclaimers, because, it is an irrational fear, and the internet is mean, and people will be like, oh, well, no, they're not harmful. Why are you killing them? Or like, the crime of being small. And I'm like, okay, I know, okay, but look, I don't know, man. It's just life. However, this week in particular, there's a reason that I'm talking about it now. Just thinking about it, I'm like, oh my God. Okay. As I said, the weather's been getting warmer, so the spiders they're hanging out. They're out and about. Twice recently this has happened, but the one a few nights ago, I was lying in bed, as one does, with the bedside lamp on, and I was literally just about to turn off the light and go to sleep. It was like late. And as I turned over to turn the light off, and I looked up, and there was a big ass spider scuttling across the ceiling, like, and it was like right above like my bedside table where my lamp was. So it was like about to crawl above my bed too. So I jumped out of bed, and I was like, let me grab the broom, and I'm gonna whack this spider, because like, absolutely not. No, sir, you are not permitted in my bedroom above my bed while I'm trying to go to sleep, right? As I got out of bed, and I was like kind of circling around, I was like, go grab the broom, but usually they don't move that fast, right? So I was like, okay, I'm like, I'll be right back. As I got out of bed, the spider jumped off of the ceiling, and I heard it hit the lampshade. It was like, and then it was gone. And I was like, oh, like, I jumped back onto the bed because I was like, where the fuck is the spider? Where did it go? It could be on the floor. It could have, I was like, did it go in my lamp? Is it like somewhere in the lampshade? Did it land on my bedside table? Did it go on the floor? Is it like in my slippers? Is it on my rug? I quickly determined that it did not land in my bed, thank God. I pulled back the covers and moved the pillows and was like, but I couldn't find it. So then I was literally just sitting, not even lying down, but like sitting at like the end of my bed for like half an hour, sending panicked voice notes to my one friend. I was like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Now the thing is, that felt malicious. It felt malicious, right? Because like, as soon as it saw me, it literally, like, I don't know how better to describe it, except it literally like leaped off of the ceiling and landed on my lampshade, or bounced off the lampshade or something, right? And like, it was not a jumping spider. And even jumping spiders don't make a habit of like jumping off of the ceiling. And it wasn't like spinning a web or anything. It was literally just going, and then it went, what? And how am I supposed to cope with that? So eventually I literally went and like shoved everything except the lamp off my bedside table. And I was like whacking the lampshade, and I was like, oh, couldn't find it. Eventually I did go to sleep, which was, I lived, obviously. But like that in and of itself, like psychologically as an adult, it has been something that I've had to convince myself, right? Like if I walk under a spider, it's like just chilling on the ceiling, it's not gonna jump down and get me, right? Because like they're not interested in getting me. They're just sitting there waiting for their flies or whatever. And now seeing that, I'm like, you've set back, this individual spider has set back so much of the progress that I've worked so hard on, of being like, no, this is an illogical thing. The spider's not going to jump down and get you. We don't have that kind of jumping down and getting you kind of spider around here. And they're not just chilling. They're doing acrobatics for seemingly no reason. Anyway, so that was the first one. Actually, that was the second one, but the one that had happened earlier. Sorry, I'm still looking. There is a tiny jumping spider on the ceiling, but it's like over there, and it's fine. I just can't stop looking at it. But it's fine. I'm not going to get that one because it's just little and it's just minding its own business. Anyhow, a few nights before this evil jumping spider attack, I was going to the bathroom just before I was going to go to bed. And as I was leaving the bathroom, I looked up and there was a big ass spider. And again, it was scuttling. It was not chilling. It was moving and big and spidery. And I was like, God damn it. Like, let me go get the broom. I'm going to get you. Go to get the broom. Come back. Spider gone. Just gone. Don't know where it went. And like, it was in the bathroom. It's not a big room. And like, there's not even like, I don't even have a ceiling lamp in the bathroom. I have like a side, like a little, I don't know, thing above the mirror lamp. So like the only thing above on the ceiling is like the vent fan. And I was like looking around. I looked in like where the fuck did it go? And then the few nights after that was then this evil spider jumping down on me attack. What are these spiders doing? Cat is here. They seem more, they're intelligent. They're evolving. Oh. Anyway, the night after the spider jumped down on my lamp, also the noise that it made was so gross. It was literally like, sorry, I hate this, but I need to tell you because it's so, the night after, actually the day after the spider jumped down on the lamp incident, then there was a spider on the ceiling in my other room that I did get, and it was like a big gross one. Got it. And then that night when I went upstairs, I was like, I'm looking around, and I found it. And as soon as I turned on the lamp, it started scuttling. And I do think like this is something that I've noticed as someone who like has to be aware of the patterns of the spiders so that I can respond. They obviously like turning on the lamp. I mean, as with any bug, right? Turning on the lamp, they're like, oh, light. Let me go see the light. Ugh. So as soon as I turned on the lamp, and then I was like, motherfucker. And then I whacked it, and then it fell on the floor, but it didn't die, but then I did get it. And I feel bad because my neighbors probably did hear several loud banging sounds because I was like, you will fucking die. but I got it. And now every day I'm walking around just like looking at the ceiling because I know they're there. And it's spring, so they're just more of them are gonna show up. Ooh. Oh, I hate it so much. I hate it so much. Just like if they would just be chill, we would be fine. But anyway, terrible, disgusting, horrible. Wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And I know for some people they'd be like, "What? You're so..." But you know what? Actually, I think even for people who aren't afraid of spiders, I think if they witnessed the leaping down from the ceiling and like landing right next to the bed, potentially in the bed, spider incident, I think any reasonable person would be like, "That is gross," because nobody wants a spider in their bed or near their bed or like leaping down on their head potentially when they're sleeping. Yeah. When I was a kid, I also was unreasonably afraid of vampires getting me in my sleep. And I think this is actually not that uncommon. So I would, for a couple of years when I was younger, I literally would like pull the covers all the way over my head and literally just have like just my face so I could breathe sticking out so the vampires couldn't get me. Unfortunately, the past few nights I've had to also do that so the spiders can't leap down on my head while I'm sleeping. So that's another spring cleaning related thing, is like one of the tasks that I rarely do, but is good to do, is the boy is here. Hi, Bubba. I'm gonna go around and like sweep all the... Ooh, please get off the keyboard. Oh, no. Thank you. Sorry, he's standing on the keyboard and I was worried he was gonna mess up the recording. Recording is fine. I want to go around and sweep all the corners on the ceiling, just to really make sure that none of them are getting in the corners. Anyway, now that you've been regaled with my terrifying story of the week, let's get into some internet happenings of the week. Well, one of the most major things, at least in nerdy video game circles, oh my goodness, they remastered Oblivion this week. That was on... Hey, can you stop? He's shaking the monitor. I believe on Tuesday or Wednesday. Bethesda was like, "Yo, we're going to have a live stream." And it has something to do with Elder Scrolls 4. Now, I found out after the fact that there have actually been rumors of an Oblivion remaster for like a while. And like with more and more credible information on these rumors like over the past couple of weeks. So for people who are really, really paying attention, this wasn't exactly a surprise. But let's start from the beginning. Okay, so they send out this thing. It's like, yep, at this time we're doing like a live stream. And it was just like Elder Scrolls IV. So Elder Scrolls 4, which is Oblivion, right? Now, of course, I'm a little bit stupid. Actually, not a little bit stupid. I am actually a little bit dyslexic. And not in a like, I'm a little bit, but like actually, I am a little bit dyslexic. Again, because I have ADHD. So, both by only briefly seeing it when I was like scrolling Reddit, like at work or something, and then also being actually literally a bit dyslexic. Now, did I initially read that as Elder Scrolls 6? Why, yes, I did. However, I also sent it to my one friend, and she also was like, "Oh my god, Elder Scrolls 6." And I was like, "No, it's Oblivion, it's Elder Scrolls 4. And we were both like, Roman numerals. So I'm not that dumb. It was a mistake that both me and my friend made, and I'm sure other people did too. I just looked at it quickly, like I wasn't like studying it, right? And I hadn't heard any of the like potential Oblivion remaster news. So there was that. But anyway, I realized relatively quickly the mistake I had made. And I didn't watch the live stream because, again, I was at work and I wasn't like... I am a fan of the Elder Scrolls in that I played Skyrim. Actually, Skyrim was one of the first like real video games that I ever played. So it was like, it had an impact on me and I've played it a lot. And I mean, Skyrim is like a game that it has had, an incredible amount of impact on the genre, on the industry in the time that it has been out. And as we all joke, many, many different releases of Skyrim. So like, I am a fan of the Elder Scrolls. And I did try to play Oblivion because like I played Skyrim and I really enjoyed it. And then eventually I was like, oh, let me try the other Elder Scrolls games. And I tried to play Oblivion and I think I played like, essentially the tutorial section. And I was like, this game is so fucking ugly. Like, I literally was like, no, I can't. I'm sorry. Like, it's so ugly. So I never ended up playing more of Oblivion. So I'm a fan of the Elder Scrolls, but it's not like, you know, some people who have played like all of them. And particularly there's the Mascara Revenge. Oh, my eye. There's a significant portion. Oh, sorry. Oh, my God. There's a significant portion of the Elder Scrolls fan base who loves Oblivion in particular. So people were excited. Oh my God. Sorry if it now looks like I've been crying. I promise I haven't been crying about Oblivion. My eye is just really irritated from stabbing myself with the mascara wand. There's a large portion of the fan base who really loves Oblivion in particular. I don't have that same attachment, so I didn't watch the live stream because I was like, I'll see the news. Whatever it is, I'll see it eventually. So then they were like, yes, Oblivion Remaster is a real thing, and we are working on it. And then either right at the end of the live stream or possibly just after the live stream ended, they were like, oh, also, by the way, it's available literally right now. So go and buy it. And that is, frankly, a very iconic move on the part of Bethesda. I think Todd Howard has said before that he would kind of love one day to just like basically he's essentially said that he would love to do just that, of like announce a game and then immediately release it. So it's very fun that they did that. I think it's an impressive move to, like, there were rumors that an Oblivion remaster was a thing, right? But they kept a tight enough lid on it that even then, like, I think there were rumors of what's called a shadow drop, meaning like it's ready, it's available right now, go buy it. Like, but they kept a tight enough lid on it that nobody was really sure. And a lot of the fandom was like, no, like there's no way they're just going to shadow drop like this. It would be like, that would be insane, right? So yeah, they kept a tight enough lid on it that like nobody was really sure what was going to happen. And then they just shadow dropped it. They were like, yep, go play it. Here you go. XOXO, Gossip Girl, love ya. Go play Oblivion now. So very iconic of them. And I was like, should I wait? And then I saw a few like screenshots and I was like, I'm buying it. I bought it. Oh, also it was only like, well, I think US it was $50 or $60. So I think it was like $70 Canadian. But like also they didn't charge what is the standard full price for a game. They charged slightly less, which is good. And also the remaster includes all of the DLC from the original is just like included in the price of the remaster. There is a deluxe edition that has like a little bit of like cosmetics and stuff, but most of it, the original horse armor that broke the internet when it released, is in the full remaster. So yeah, I did buy it immediately, basically, and download it. And I've been playing it, and I basically can't stop playing Oblivion now. So, unfortunately, it did give me, like, I didn't really start playing it until Friday after the announcement. Like, I played like maybe an hour on like, I think Wednesday and Thursday, but like I'm busy. So I didn't have a ton of time. But then Friday I didn't have any plans. Or no, wait, mistake. I played like an hour Wednesday and whatever. The time is making me, okay, time is meaningless. What I meant to say is Thursday night I did play more. Like I played several hours on Thursday night, which was very fun. Unfortunately, it did give me a wicked migraine. Holy shit. Now it's kind of my own fault. I know this happens sometimes, particularly if I haven't been playing like a big game for a while. So like recently I've been replaying Hades, right? So it's like a very different, I don't know how to describe it, but like bigger games like RPGs and stuff in particular will sometimes trigger migraines for me. I find third person games are not so bad, but first person games can be very bad for me personally. And so Oblivion is a first person game primarily. And I felt myself starting to get a little bit of a headache just here. Not quite a migraine, but I kept playing. But then also what happened Thursday night was also the night of the spider jumping down from the ceiling and landing on the lampshade incident. So I also already, so then I ended up staying up too late when I already had a headache, because then I was like, oh, a spider. And I didn't sleep well for a multitude of reasons. One of which being I had a headache at that point. And then, Friday. Oh boy, was brutal. Like, oh yeah. The headache itself was not as bad, but the secondary migraine symptoms, like I was literally like at work sitting at my desk and occasionally just had to like grip the arms of my desk chair and like close my eyes or like look away, because like, I don't know, like, because essentially it felt like I was going to pass out. My vision would like, I was blacking out or like graying out or whatever. And also feeling like I was absolutely going to vomit. Yeah. So like, and you know, that sometimes does happen. That is a symptom that I get, but like I was literally not even doing anything. It wasn't like, oh, let me stand up to try and go somewhere. Oh no, like, bleh. Was like sitting at my desk, just like reading something on the computer. And I was like, oh, like was bad. I did it to myself. Oblivion is not at fault, but because the thing is, like, you can switch to a third person view, but at first I was like, no, like the game is primarily designed to be played in first person, so like let me play it in first person. And I have now switched to primarily playing in third person, and actually it's fine. It works fine. I'm still having a very good experience, and I don't feel like there's a couple times where I switched to first person. For certain things, like if I need to like get an up close look at something, I'll switch to first person. But for the most part, the third person view works better and has thankfully not had that same negative effect on my everything, basically. It's funny because I know like there are lots of people who get motion sickness from video games, and especially first person video games can give people motion sickness, or like if there's like motion blur and stuff like that, certain visual effects can, but the motion sickness it's only happened to me once. I don't remember the name of the game. It was like a puzzle game. You're like on an island and you're like walking around. Anyway, that one did actually give me motion sickness. But it's not surprising that I get a migraine from something like that. It's also like literally sometimes it feels like my eyes and my brain have to get used to playing a video game on the TV again. Like, and oh, by the way, I bought it on console. I do have a gaming PC, but I like to sit on the couch when I play video games, so I did buy it on console. Don't kill me. I'll probably buy it on PC at some point too. Anyway, when I'm playing on my PlayStation, I sound so old. When I'm playing on my PS5, if I haven't been playing a video game consistently for a while, particularly on the TV, like on the PS5, it takes my brain and my eyes a little bit to kind of adjust. So I think that probably has something to do with it. Because I was playing Hades, I was playing it on the Switch. So like small screen, closer to me. And also obviously Hades, the screen isn't like moving around. So I think I've adjusted again. My brain has adjusted back to like, oh yes, video games. Right, okay, we can do this. And my eyes are not so strained anymore. And also switching to the third person view has really helped. But anyway, I'm having a lot of fun. I think the remaster is great. There's definitely a lot of bugs, which is unsurprising. It's basically, from what I can tell, almost entirely exactly the same as the original, except they've overhauled the visuals in a completely different engine. They've essentially rebuilt the exact same code in a new engine, from my understanding. And they have fixed a few known bugs, and they fixed a few known weirdnesses with the original system, which I will talk about. But for the most part, it is basically the same game. And it is a Bethesda game, and it was originally released in 2007, I think. So there are some bugs, one of which I encountered last night, which was like panic-inducing, which was the game would not save. I couldn't quick save. It wouldn't auto save. I couldn't manually save. And that seems to be like happening across platforms. Like when I was Googling, and thankfully, as there often is, there was a Reddit thread where someone was talking about this. It seems like it's affecting no matter what. And it's like that one's a weird one where like for some folks, like folks playing on PC, it was something to do with the game files getting like desynced from Steam. Or some people were like, oh no, you just have to like move this, like it's created a new file directory, so you have to move this file. But then for folks on console, it's like, oh no, it is saving. It's just not showing you that it's saving. And for a lot of people, we're like, yeah, only quick saves work. So just like quick save, it's not going to actually show you that it's saving. But then if you fully close the game and reopen it, then it'll, like, your quick saves will be there. So then I did that, but I had also tried to manually save. Like, that was when I noticed the issue, because I was about to turn the game off for the night. So I like to do a manual save anytime I'm like, okay, putting it down for a while. And none of the quick saves I had done after that manual save actually were registered, but the one manual save I had done, which wasn't showing up in my save log prior to closing the game, was there. So thankfully I actually didn't lose progress. But like, even the solution that lots of people were like, oh yeah, only quick saves will work on console. So that's, and like, nope, that didn't work for me. It was a completely different thing. So the issue itself seems to be widespread, but also it's one of those ones that's like mysterious in terms of fixing it. So that sucks. But I'm going to be paying very close attention to my saves for a little while going forward. There was something else, but I said, oh, I'll talk about that in a second. What was I going to talk about? Oh yes, some of the changes that they'd made. So first of all, yeah, the game looks great. Like, it looks like vanilla Skyrim as far as I can tell, although admittedly it's been a long time since I played vanilla Skyrim, but it's, yes, I am biased against games that are totally fugly, sorry, but no, it looks good. It looks like a good game. Like, it doesn't look, it doesn't look like a modern game, but it also doesn't look like original Oblivion, which, like, even to fans of the original, I don't think anyone can disagree with me when I say that game was fucking ugly. Okay, so it doesn't look like that. Particularly the character models are, I think, way better. They've done a really good job, and like, the world is beautiful, so I'm really enjoying that. But I wasn't even aware of this, because part of the reason I was trying to determine if I really wanted to buy it was because I do recall part of the, I said it was so ugly, that's why I stopped playing. Part of it was also I found the whole system kind of confusing, like the leveling system. Although, again, to be fair, that was a long time ago that I first tried to play Oblivion, and I had a lot less patience. I had untreated, undiagnosed ADHD, and I had a lot less patience for, like, in-depth RPG mechanics, But anyway, I was reading, apparently the old leveling system in Oblivion was, like, absolute dog shit, and, I have read now, because I was like, okay, what is this? I've read multiple explanations of people being like, yeah, here's how the old leveling system worked and why it was bad, and I still don't really understand. But basically, it was like, essentially, if you leveled in the way that would make the most sense based on how the systems work, you would end up with enemies spawning in the world who were, like, incredibly overpowered relative to your character level. So you would have to level the skills that you didn't care about and keep the skills that you did care about from leveling in order to avoid enemies spawning that would be way too high level for you. So, like, I still don't quite understand the leveling system as it stands, because I'm, like, still, like, in-depth RPG systems have never been my strong suit, okay? But that is one of the changes that they made. Something that they did changed the leveling system in a way that lots of people online have said is, like, way better. So I believe them, because I'm still a little confused about the whole situation. But it feels good. Like, and I say, like, I don't quite understand it, but, like, I get it. It's not unintuitive. There's just, like, modern RPGs streamline a lot of where, like, you don't have multiple layers of skills, numbers and percentages and whatever. So anyway, that they improved. But then also they changed, apparently, the inventory system a little bit, where I was feeling really frustrated. In the inventory, there's only a few categories. It's like gear, weapons, alchemy, and then miscellaneous, and then all in your inventory. And the only sorting options, like if you're on, say, the gear page, you can sort by alphabetical name of the item, you can sort by weight, and possibly you can also sort by value or durability or something like that. I can't remember, because I pretty much keep it assorted by alphabetical, right? Which is fine, particularly on the gear page. It's like, yeah, when you're streamlining your build, you're unlikely to have a bunch of gear that you don't need unless you've looted something and you're carrying it around to sell it. But ultimately, it's like, okay, yeah, I have, like, my main ranged weapon, I have my main melee weapon, and, like, a couple other situational, like, enchanted weapons, right? But that's fine. It's pretty straightforward. And even like with the armor, it's like, yeah, like I'm not carrying around a bunch of armor that I'm not going to use. Basically, I get my armor, and then when I upgrade my armor, I sell the old armor, don't need it. But with the alchemy and the miscellaneous categories are very, very frustrating, because with alchemy, you have ingredients, and then you have individual potions, and then also you can craft potions, and the game seems to separate potions you have crafted from potions that you have collected in game. So they're all intermingled, either alphabetically or by weight, but sorting by weight or value doesn't help, because most of the alchemy stuff is like roughly the same in terms of statistics. And I'm like, I don't want to have to scroll through all the fucking ingredients I've collected in order to find the potion that I want. And also I can only sort like alphabetically. So it's like scrolling through all the different potions I've collected, right? And someone actually posted screenshots of the old inventory interface. And apparently they did used to separate out ingredients and like crafted potion or like potions in two separate inventory categories. So like, why would they take that out? It's like I assumed that it was such a bad user experience because it was a game from 2007, but no, it turns out they actually made it worse for the remaster for whatever reason. And it's similarly with miscellaneous. It's like, okay, I'm looking for like my lock picks, and I want to check how many lock picks I have or whatever. And I have to scroll through every single key I've collected, because for some reason the keys aren't just all grouped in one category. And I have to scroll through, all the random stuff that it's just like, yeah, it's frustrating. It's fine, but it is frustrating. And like, it's not even like inventory management. There is no managing the inventory. Like you can't search for things. You can literally only sort by, anyway, it's a minor annoyance, but it is annoying. Very annoying. Particularly with alchemy, it's like it's a pretty significant part of the game, or can be, for your playstyle, and like it's just like dog shit. Anyway, man, I've yapped for a long time. I have other stuff to say about Oblivion, but I'll just say, yeah, game good. Game good. Game good. Moving on. The Pope died on Easter weekend. Now, I am not Catholic or any particular variety of religious at all, so I have no particular opinion towards the Pope's death, except that it's similar to the death of a world leader, where it's like, it's politically significant. This show is not the environment in which to discuss the political implications of the death of the Pope, nor am I the person to discuss the political implications of the death of the Pope, because the political implications of the death of the Pope, because I am not Catholic. I'm not well informed on the inner workings of the Catholic Church. Anyway, we're not talking about that. But the fact that the Pope died is significant to the thing I'm about to talk about now. So you need to know. In case you didn't know, the Pope died. And so they were holding funerary things, as you do. And there are many things. And one of them was like people being able to go and like visit the coffin and like pay their respects, which is apparently typically very restricted. Particularly there's like, I guess, areas that are like closer to the actual coffin that are typically highly, highly restricted, and particularly highly restricted to men, because the Catholic Church is pretty divided by gender. But there was this one nun who apparently had a very close personal relationship with the Pope and has done a lot of good work, whatever. And she was allowed to personally like approach very close to the coffin and pay her own personal respects, due to the nature of her relationship with the Pope, which was like a big deal, again, because the Catholic Church is pretty segregated by gender. So like it's not typical protocol and blah, 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 right? Okay. There have been a lot of pictures circulating of this particular event, of this like the fact that she was allowed to approach the Pope's coffin and pay her personal respects. There's been a lot of, one of the major headlines around the death of the Pope has been this, because it is actually like a significant thing within the lore is not the right word of the Catholic Church. So you may have seen headlines, you may have seen images of this one older woman in her nun's garb approaching and paying her respects and grieving the Pope. And I was scrolling on Reddit actually just this morning, and someone had, again, it's being posted in like every single subreddit that's even like a remotely plausible. And someone posted this like, oh yeah, the sister, whoever, was allowed to approach the coffin and pay her personal respect, blah, 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 right? And they included an image. And it's so bizarre. This is an image that makes her look particularly very small. Like she looks like she's maybe like 4 foot something. And she's grieving, and it's like, okay, yep. And it's very similar to all the other images that I have seen like attached to this headline over the past week. And then I didn't even like, you glance at it and it's like, okay, I was reading the comments because I was like, I don't know, it's Reddit. Let me read what people are saying. And people pointed out that the particular image attached to that post was very obviously AI generated. And it like once, it's one of those things once people pointed out, it's like, oh, it was. And it was totally bizarre. People then shared, because there are actual images of this woman actually going and it's like almost identical. But it's like one of the, you can see like priests, cardinals, people, clergy members behind her in these images, standing in like another sort of section. And in this particular image, like one of the clergy members looks like 11 feet tall, because like people were like, oh, she's such a small, like it's like such an impactful image of like this very small like woman kind of alone in her grief, and then you just see the clergy sort of in the background, and it's like, oh no, she looks so small because like the sense of scale is completely distorted. And then if you look at the clothes that she's wearing, it's very similar to the actual clothes that she was wearing in the actual images, but not quite. Like there are some significant differences. And then if you look even closer, it's like in this image she's like covering her mouth kind of like as you would if you were in grief, right? Like sobbing. But like her hand is like clipping through her nose, right? And in the actual images, like she's holding like a handkerchief or something. And like, and the pattern on the floor is like slightly misaligned or something. Like the closer you look, all these details like jump out of this, like, oh no, this is an AI generated image. And then it's like, it's a real story. It's a real headline, and there are real images of this real woman really going to grieve her close personal friend, the Pope, who actually did die. And this is the real, like the setting is real, like it. But this one is AI generated. And and people were like, what the hell? Like at that point, like what is the point then? And like my question is, where did this individual image originate? Like makes me think that maybe the Reddit account that originally posted it is just fully like a bot account and like scraping the headlines and literally like generating like high impact posts to karma farm, right? And so it would have found like, but then again, it's like, well, it could have just fully pulled an image. If it was a bot, it could have just fully pulled an actual image, but no, it's like either it's a weird bot that's like AI generating the images to go along with the headlines, or like someone went to the effort of generating an AI version of this image that is, it was so weird. And it does speak to, I think, I've seen, relatively recently AI generated images have become even more advanced, right? Where again, like, it used to be incredibly obvious where like the hands or the teeth or some part of the anatomy or the background would be very obviously like off in an AI generated image. And they are becoming incredibly advanced very quickly in like, I think the past few months, where like it is actually becoming scary. And anyway, I've been thinking about, like my parents need to be better at identifying AI art, because like, or not even AI art, like AI pictures of it look real. And, it's hard to explain to people the importance of being able to recognize these images, because it's like, yeah, well, it doesn't matter if it's like someone AI generated a picture of like a clown at a circus and it's not a real clown at a real circus, but it's like, but if it's a politically significant image and you fall for it, like, right? And like this one, again, it's like, I guess harmless, like in terms of the, like they're, like it's a true story with a real person. It's very weird to generate an AI image of the event because there are lots of very recent, very real images, and this one looks so similar, like it's clearly based off one particular image. It's a weird thing to do, but they're not using it for misinformation. But even that, it's just a perfect example. And like I said, like I glanced at it briefly and then was just like scrolling, like reading the comments. So, and because I had seen actual real images, it didn't even occur to me that this might be fake. And then it was like, oh, but it very obviously is actually. I don't know, man. Who the fuck? Also, it is pretty rude, I think, to take an image of someone's actual funeral, or well, not the actual funeral, I guess, but funerary proceedings or what have you, right? The visitation of a body. and use those to generate AI images. And very rude to take an image that's very specifically of one individual person who is actively grieving someone that they actually were close with in life, and AI generate something. Like, I mean, and there's no point even to the lie of it all. Like, absolutely bonkers, bizarro world sort of behavior. But I do appreciate all the eagle-eyed Redditors who are like, nah, here's all the reasons that this is definitely AI generated, and here's some actual images of this person. And it's just like, huh? But that was like, that image, that headline was on like the front page of Reddit because that's where I was scrolling. So like, anyways, the AI generated images are getting more sophisticated. Here's a few quick tips that at least for now still maybe work. One in particular being like the background of images. So previously it was like, okay, you could look at the hands, you could look at the teeth, you know, which is still somewhat true. Particularly hands and feet still seem to be tricky for AI generations. But in the background of images, right? So like in a real setting, you can see like the line of this piece of furniture aligns with where it's placed in the corner of a room. And the pictures behind me are hung in ways that actually make sense, right? And if I were to, like, if you look, you can see the corner of this room actually extends all the way down to where the floor is, right? In an AI generated image, it's going to have trouble aligning the corners of things. So you might see like weirdness happening here. You might see something that looks like this picture, for example, might actually look like part of a door, but then not extend down to the floor. Or it might look like a couch is placed like in front of what looks like a doorway, but the doorway is actually like filled in, or like the corners of furniture won't align. Things like that are still pretty much like noticeable red flags, but you really like it for a long time. You could pretty quickly glance at an image and say, oh, that's AI generated. And now you actually do have to like look at it. There's also, I mean, still I have found a sense of sort of unreality that seems to come through in sort of the photorealistic AI generated images that we see, where like that itself is a quality that I can't even really explain, but it's hyper real. It's hyper real in a way that a photograph is not and cannot be, if that makes any sense. But yeah, it's getting rough out there, folks. Use your critical thinking skills. Use your critical thinking skills, particularly when it comes to images that may actually have like some sort of political or social implications to sharing, right? We got to be careful. We got to be aware. But yeah, freaking AI. I don't know, man. To be clear, I'm not someone who's like, AI is 100% evil. I am what most people would call a pragmatist, where I'm like, yeah, AI is a tool that is developed by and used by actual human beings, and the biases of those actual human beings are evident through the biases of the human beings who influence the creation of an AI tool, and the biases of the people who use the AI tool and thereby also influence its training. Not to mention the biases of the training data are evident, right? And it's not necessarily something that evil is going to end the world. It's not something that it's not like, oh, AI is going to lead to utopia, in my opinion. It is a tool that we as human beings have to choose to be responsible about. And unfortunately, because of capitalism and corporations, it is not a tool that is being created and used in a responsible way as of now. But that doesn't mean that it cannot be created or used in an ethical, responsible way for the good of society, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my little spiel. But yeah, I'm not like 100% AI is evil. No one should ever use AI, but the ethical implications we must consider. So yes, that bizarro world. Don't AI generate images of people at their friends' funerals, okay? That's weird behavior, weirdo behavior. Get a job. Stay away from her. Another very fun thing, hockey. I'm actually not a sports fan in general. I don't really give a shit about competitive sports. It's never been something that I enjoy watching. And I'm not trying to shit on people who do like sports, because I know there's some people who are assholes about it who are like, oh, you like sports? Like, oh, lame. No, like, whatever. You like what you like. I've never been interested in watching competitive sports. The only sport that I occasionally would watch would be hockey, but only because other people around me like hockey and will put it on. Also, I'm Canadian, so like that. And I do find, on a scale of most to least entertaining, hockey is one of the more entertaining ones to watch, but like, I just, whatever. However, maybe this is one of my most Canadian traits. I love a good hockey fight. What can I say? I think it's entertaining. I like when they fight. Sue me, okay? So, a couple days ago, I think it's the playoffs, but don't quote me on that because I don't actually know. But anyway, the Washington Capitals, I believe, were playing the Montreal Canadiens. The Caps and the Habs, respectively. And there was a big ol' fight. Two players who I guess have some history, one from Montreal, one from Washington, started tussling on the bench. So then everybody else, I think it was a point where the teams were leaving the ice for the period, maybe. So it was like everybody was already on the ice because they were leaving. And then this fight broke out on the bench, and then everybody was fighting. And it was like two guys, one of whom I do know was Tom Wilson, fighting in the bench. And then just everybody else just like fucking full on knockdown, drag out, gloves off. Actually, mostly not gloves off, actually. This one was not so much a gloves off fight, but they were brawling. The boys were brawling in and around the bench, which, to be clear, incredibly dangerous. Incredibly dangerous. The people on the bench who are not hockey players, so the equipment manager, the team coach, various staff members who are around there, did not sign up to be a part of a fight in which, skates are flying around and giant 200-pound men wearing 200 pounds of equipment or whatever. So very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Also very, very entertaining, though. It was a good one. It was a good one, folks. The other funny thing is, if you're not familiar with hockey, even I know this. Typically in a hockey fight, what'll happen is there might be a few guys like really like fighting, like really tussling. And then usually if other teammates get involved, what you'll see is some of them will kind of pair off, and if they're trying to make it look like they are fighting, like if they're trying to look like they're participating, they'll grab each other's jerseys and kind of like pull on each other, but they end up kind of out of the fray. Or sometimes you'll just see players literally like kind of standing with each, like paired off, and what that is a signal to the other team to be like, hey man, I'm like, leave me out of this. I'm not trying to get involved. And also a signal to your own team of like, hey, I've got this guy, so you don't have to worry about him getting all up in the fray. So you kind of pair off with another, like someone from the opposite team. There were two rookies who I have since learned, I think, sort of came up together. Like they played together on Team USA, I think. And, they came up in the same sort of class, so to speak. And they're just literally in the background. So it's like fully most of both teams like tussling, and the refs are up in there. They're falling over. It's just like a mess is occurring. And these two little rookies are standing in the background holding hands. And like, it was just very cute. It's just like, they're like, we don't want to be involved. You can kind of see them talking to each other a little bit, but it literally just looks like two scared kids being like, Mom, can we go home? I'm scared. Not an insult to either of them, by the way. And like the other thing is, I think, again, even I know this, like someone, by osmosis, absorbed hockey culture, right? Like most of the guys wouldn't expect the two rookies to really get up in the fray, because like there are some players who are known for, it's like your job is to fight guys, right? Or you're a more experienced player, you're a bigger player, right? But like two small rookies, no one's gonna be like, oh, fuck those guys for like not getting involved, like not standing up for their team. It's like, no, like they're staying out of it, they're staying in their lane, no one's gonna blame them for that. And also it's kind of cute because they seemingly were actually, or are actually, friends in real life outside of the game. So it was a good old fucking Donnybrook, boys. Very funny. Unfortunately, in that same game, a goalie did get like very badly injured. It seems like a goalie from the Caps, again, I saw the video, and it was like a player from the Caps came in and I think tried to check a Montreal player, and the Montreal player got out of the way, and then the Caps player landed on the Caps goalie, like, landed on him, and man, it looked pretty bad. Like, the goalie, I don't know, I haven't followed up on the information, but if you can imagine a very large man with lots of heavy equipment at speed crashing into you and then landing roughly on your head and maybe bending your knee backwards a little bit, it didn't look good. It did not look good, folks, which sucks. You know, I think, actually, there's like two things I think that bring hockey fans together. Like, even if it's the opposing team, even if it's like the team that you love playing against someone, but especially like sort of people who are watching a game that's like not your team you're super invested in, but two things that bring people together. A really fucking good fight, because everyone's like, that's pure entertainment, right? Like, regardless, it's just like good. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, an injured goalie. Because, like, on the one hand, a fight, everyone's like, yes, we love it. Good fight, yes. And with an injured goalie, everyone's like, I think pretty much everyone's like, the goalies don't deserve this. Like, they are fully staying in their lane. They have one job. You know, some players, it's like, some players are out on the ice really, like, being little shit disturbers, causing problems. And then you're like, okay, well, someone should beat your ass and, like, you know, put you in your place a little bit. Or, you know, there's a historic rivalry between teams, so it's like, oh yeah, they fight because it's like, oh, you know, the rivalry. But the goalies are just like, the goalies are in their net. They're staying in their lane. They have one job, and they're doing their job, and that's all they're doing. And so to see a goalie get, like, badly injured, it's just like, he didn't deserve that. You know, not to say that any player deserves to be injured, but it's like, they're literally like, the only reason they're injured is because another player has, like, gotten all up in the space of the goalie. And usually it's pretty much almost always accidental, right? Where it's like, in this case, a player from your own team fucking lands on you. Yeah. Obviously, like, it's almost worse. I don't know what's worse, if it's a player from your own team or a player from the opposite team. Because if it's a player from the opposing team, you could be like, okay, well, was that intentional? Because, like, that would be a really shitty move to, like, intentionally injure the goalie, right? Or, like, even semi-intentionally, or even, like, you just were not being careful enough and now you've injured the other team's goalie. But, like, your own goalie, like, oh man, it was rough. And if I'm correct, and it is the playoffs, which I think it is, like, damn. Yeah, it sucks. Anyway, it was good. The clips that I saw on Reddit were pretty good. And actually, funnily enough, the Reddit hockey fandom is, like, one of the least toxic fandoms I think I've ever been exposed to, which is saying something, because, you know, sports fans are not really necessarily known for their, like, non-toxic behavior, but, like, it seems like a decent community over there. And actually, this did get me thinking about something. I was like, why would that be, potentially? And I was like, well, sports fans naturally just have way more opportunity to engage with each other offline, right? Like, the majority of sports fandom takes place either at actual games, or, you know, you go to a local sports bar and watch the game, like, with your friends and have nachos or whatever, right? Or you host a Super Bowl viewing party for your friends or whatever, or you have your buddies over for the big game to watch, whatever, right? Like, the majority of sports fandom takes place offline, or at the very least, sports fans have a ton of opportunities to engage offline with the thing that they really enjoy. And I think maybe that helps. Like, to be clear, I'm not saying that sports fandom is not a toxic fandom. I mean, like, we've all seen what sports fans can do. Like, every single riot that's ever happened because a team has either won or lost, you know, and the city gets, like, absolutely fucking rocked, right? But all that to say is, like, basically, the point that I'm getting at, I was like, we need more of that for, like, other fandoms. Unfortunately, like, most fandoms, the only in-person opportunities, unless you have friends who are very into the same things you are, it's like fandom conventions. And those are few and far between, really. And may not actually even be for the thing that you like. Like, if you go to a con, you're going to probably see some of the thing you like, but it's for many different things, right? So all that to say is, I think we need to bring back, like, watch parties. We need to have the same thing that sports has, but for fandom stuff. Unfortunately, fandom stuff is so wide and varied that it would be difficult to implement. And honestly, I was thinking about this. I was like, the only cultural moment that we've had that's been remotely comparable was, like, Game of Thrones, right? Because, like, when Game of Thrones was airing week by week, like, it was like a moment that like a huge portion of people were actually actively engaged with at the same time. Like, people would have big Game of Thrones watch parties, or like go to a bar and like watch Game of Thrones, like watch the new episode, right? So I don't know when or if there will ever be another thing, like another sort of fandom nerdy sort of thing that brings people together in that way. But anyway, it's just got me thinking about like small scale in-person opportunities for fans to interact with each other, and for potentially very low cost, right? Because the other thing is, like, obviously tickets to a major league sports game are expensive, or can be hard to get, whatever. But like going to a local bar to watch the game for the team that you really like maybe costs you a beer and a plate of nachos. But like, even if you went by yourself, you would still find a group of like-minded people who would probably be very chill and like open to, you know, hanging out, right? And how possibly to create that for fandom spaces, I don't know. But I think it's a good idea. Whatever that might look like, I think it's a good idea. Because I do think, you know, the opportunity to interact offline is both, it means the toxicity stays mostly offline, but also, you know, you interact with people in real life, you see, oh, wait a second, not everybody's actually evil like I thought. Unfortunately, I do have to see everybody as human beings because I see people offline, you know, that sort of thing. Anyhow, just a thought. But to return to my original point, hockey fights are fucking entertaining. That's just good entertainment, folks. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So, there you go. Oh man, this one flew by, I think. Yeah. I'm gonna go clean my house. There's definitely stuff I didn't talk about this week, but it's my show and I'm the one with the microphone, so if you want to talk about other stuff, you go buy yourself a microphone. Get your own show. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye!